Hey, what's up guys? Did you know there were originally plans for a fourth movie inside of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man franchise? Which I would have loved. But even better, there was a prototype for the Wii. It's inclusive, right, of course, because there's usually one for each console, which ironically enough got leaked onto the web. So apparently this game would have been developed by Activision and Eurocom. Now I know there's plenty of games based on superhero movies who follow the plot synopsis point by point. However, because I played the games from the Spider-Man movies, I know that's not the case. There was also some leaked concept art for the fourth Spider-Man movie. Now one of these images you might recognize, which is Mysterio, there was supposed to be this little montage of B and C and D, the tier list villains, which just never, in Sam Raimi's eyes, could make for a fulfilling story. But hey, if you didn't know yet, Mysterio actually does make an appearance in the second Spider-Man video game. Mentioning video games, let's go back to the fourth entry and see what could have been. First of all, you do see a little message, which obviously is a reference to the Vulture. What does the game have to offer? Well, there's two levels that were like almost complete, but they're in this Matrix style, unfinished. And that doesn't really matter. It kind of is a showcase, a playable demo, I would almost say, of the combat style which was involved in the fourth entry. I think the combat is excellent. Now you can't actually go onto the streets. If you fall off of a building, you'll be teleported back to a checkpoint. I wouldn't even say that the levels are long, but it definitely had some love put into it. You can see hundreds of pedestrians in the very first glimpse of the first level. Sure, some of them might randomly teleport, but hey, it's only a tech demo. This was 2010 by the way, so it's really ambitious, especially for its time. Next to this, in the playable section, we see a part of the environment. This includes a crashed train, as well as some other parts which are very crucial to the tutorial. You'll web swing through the city and fight a couple of foes. Find some random box, I have no idea what to do with that by the way, but whatever. You also have a section of the game where you do the classic wall climbing. Also, I just wanted to add this part real quick because, well, it just looks really cool. So it's kind of a very short level and you immediately walk into the second one without anything in between. So if you might be on the menu and select level 2, you might get confused. But all of that besides, this area does suspiciously look like an industrial complex, which might have hinted at something in the story. Further than that, the elements of the second level are kind of the same as the first. The only thing that I could note is that the elements that are here are a little bit more difficult and more advanced. Again, it's not very long and it does end quite soon. You jump into a building. After this, you are ported back to the main menu of the game. This is where we continue our investigation to the finalized assets and environments which we might encounter inside of this prototype. And no, the fourth movie would not have included Gwen Stacy, but I had the suit and I was like, you know what? I'm a super nerd. I must humiliate myself on the internet and hey, don't go away. Anyways, to return to the Vulture, he would have been portrayed by John Malkovich. In this storyline, he would have been a gun for hire used by the government. Anyways, there are not really any traces of the Vulture. His character design, I doubt it exists. It might be in the files, but I'm not really good at mining. Unless it's in Minecraft, but I'm also mediocre at that. The file is almost 4 gigabytes, so there might actually be something in there that I didn't manage to discover myself. There actually is an asset viewer within the prototype, but it only has 3 characters. Spider-Man, the default Doug, and a bigger Doug, or maybe boss, that was supposedly going to be used. However, within the game itself, I never saw him anywhere, which means he still needed to be implemented somewhere. Now, I also saw a world sim, which actually is just a simulation of how the game would run. It actually looks really pretty and decent. Next to that, there is a combat simulation. The most notable and interesting part about this is actually the environment, because it confirms once again that there was a role in this story towards an industrial park. And as you clip through the walls and find yourself a way through the level, you actually are able to see that there are like vats of what looks like to be acid. Now they're not very far in development yet, but they are there. So another very interesting part, what I think is the most interesting, is the navigation room, which isn't just used to make sure that the camera doesn't clip to the wall, but it seemingly was also used to test all of the other essential elements which will be used throughout the gameplay of Spider-Man 4, and how tall and how scaled things would be, as every root square tube block apparently seems to be 1 meter, which is aka 1 yard by the way, just saying that for those who don't know the metric system well. Also, at any point when you're playing Spider-Man you can go into debug mode, which also means you can clip through all sorts of walls. That's slightly entertaining, I guess. But that's about all of the highlights I can fester out of this part of the prototype. But anyways, I also found this particular image within the options. Actually, I think there's like 2 villains we haven't seen yet, but I do know Kraven the Hunter was supposedly going to appear in Spider-Man 4. However, I'm totally not sure who these characters are. If you're able to help me in the comment section down below, please feel free to. I would appreciate it enormously. Now this section is the last part of the prototype. This here is what I think is the most interesting part of this demo, which are the locations. First of all, there is a rundown part of town. Now this level is definitely not finished by far, but it gives us a taste of what could have been. Though, when it comes to maps, I think it's definitely most developed of all of them, when level design comes into consideration. You can usually clip through the maps, and the maps usually aren't that big, they're demos, if there was a word I could use to describe them. Then we also have Night in Midtown. It obviously kinda speaks for itself and I think it looks beautiful, but you easily clip through the map. Also, it's by far not as big as the first map I showed y'all, so that's gonna be a theme. Also, I really like all of the details that they put into this map. It's very much appreciated in my heart. Well, Seppi. So the next map is called the construction site. It's actually just one building with a very nicely, intricately detailed skybox, which I seem to appreciate. I think it's okay, but don't look down too much, okay? I do have to give them props, it does feel to me like a Spider-Man game. And I know it was supposed to be, but I'm talking about the vibe it gives off compared to the other Spider-Man games. So all you can do is just jump into this hole. I'm not sure, maybe there was a cutscene originally supposed to be here, or some sort of load-in of a different scene, but yeah, we'll never know, I guess. Just make that 4th movie, please. We have the multiverse, everything is possible. So the next scenery is called The Bridge. I just kinda sped up the footage so you could have more of an oversight. I think it's quite interesting, the water isn't quite done yet. I did see other maps out there which did have that mapped underneath. At the end of the bridge you just jump off and you fall into the abyss. So the next map is called Chinatown. It's quite campy, but that's why I love Sam Raimi. I don't think any Marvel movie comes close to the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies for me. And I know that's obviously an opinion. Also, I tried calling this one number, but no one answered. I'm so sad. Just kidding, whatever. So the next map is the Chrysler Building. In order to obtain the best point of view, I went into debug mode for this one. I don't really have a lot to say about this, except for that it kind of looks like a rocket, if you pay close attention. So next to this we have Little Italy, which is just a little restaurant. There's not really much in the map itself, it's just a building at this point, but they did do some work on the roof. So the next map is literally called Street Furniture, and that's what we get. But interestingly enough, it does come with a building called the Layton Hotel. Further than that, there's not too much interesting to note, except for that there is a skybox you can walk through. And finally, we have 2 maps with general props. And yes, this does include 2 particular items who have a reference towards Oscorp, which I appreciate. But it does make me wonder, who would have inherited the company? Anyways, the final test level has more general items, more general props. And I really got to say that my favorite one is the tree, because I like the leaves, I think it's cute. Also, I really like the random billboard hanging in the air. I already said finally, but finally, we've got some effects. As in, we've already seen the map before, but this time it's got special effects. Now, why does it have special effects in it? First of all, this is also a test module. So, you note that there's like rain, you see police cars, the sirens are on, and you can also see these little pulses. I think this would have represented Spider-Man's Spidey sense, which could indicate that someone was in trouble or that there was a mission. You also see fire, explosions, poison, as well as gunfire, and random things blowing in the wind. Also, here's a drone shot from the map because I forgot to add that in the previous time. Notice that this one has water underneath. So the Midtown map also appears to have some action. I spawned in, it's like the place is being nuked. It's like freaking New Year over there. But if I'm completely honest, I'm in love with these special effects, man. They're pretty cool. So this is some of the official soundtrack that was going to be used. And I don't know why the last map with the street furniture only has lights as special effect. Honestly, I do like the vibe it gives off, especially the neon sign. And for some reason there's this extra dark part on the roof. Let's hope nothing nefarious happened. Anyways, that's kind of all I could find. Anyways, thank you very much for tuning in today. I appreciate your presence and also... Damn. I just wanted to do that, guys. Forgive me. Anyways, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it a lot. Have a nice day. Subscribe and like the video.